Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. My name is Mark Anthony Peter, and welcome to season 2 of Breakthrough. I'm so excited. It's season 2. Hold on. Come on, you background. That is so good.
This is the first that he's seen it, folks. This is the first time he's seeing it.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Okay, nice. Good job, y'all. Good job.
Now we look like we're in a TV set as opposed to a concert hall.
Very true. Very true. Anyway, I'm so excited to get this new journey started, and
Somehow we have a new background and it's even more colorful
yeah, boy.
than the old background.
Ooh, yeah, boy.
I mean, not that it's a bad thing.
It's not.
I'm not going to be wearing fluorescent pink very often.
No,
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah,
not.
yeah.
But excited to start this new journey, and obviously the one who's been walking with me through this journey and about to start this new journey with me, for better or for worse. The infamous, the notorious, Mr. Sean Michael Small. Good morning, Sean.
Those who know from Form 2 and Form 3, you know. Yes.
There's a nickname story somewhere.
Yeah, let's not go on.
We're not going to get into that. But how are you doing,
that,
Sean?
that potentially could be seen as bullying. No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
No, it was not.
You know, I'm not that soft.
How are you doing?
Tired like you.
Yeah.
You know, just one of those how things worked out, you know. You know, you were busy. I was not so busy until I found out that there were last minute cancellations on right.
Yeah, you know. Listen. This is how TV
This
works.
is show business.
This is show business. You know, you just have to pivot and you have to make it work. You have to make adjustments.
So technically, we're a little bit behind on when we wanted to start season 2.
Right.
But you know what? Mark made an executive decision. We're going full speed ahead. You know what? To hell with the torpedoes. That's full speed ahead, right? It's a quote.
I know.
Right?
So I'm not uncultured for the most part.
I mean, not a lot of people know that quote, right? But with that said, you know, so I mean, we have a good guest who I think, ironically, is also like one of those people who started off this journey with us. So in a way,
if you know, you know.
It's fitting. It's fitting in a way. But I mean, also too, one of the things, and I guess maybe I would like to mention, you yourself are an educator, not just in the music industry. And it seems as though the new term has been taking its toll on you. How's things been going?
I am just really, really exhausted all of the time, but the work is good. The work is good, and to be able to impart any sort of wisdom, to impart the things that I have learned. I was having a conversation with somebody, and I told them, you know, the reason that I give is because people have given so much to me. The reason that I invest so much into others and those who are willing to take it is because so many people have invested in me, right? And I wouldn't be here without their help, without their guidance and their assistance and and really their input. Sometimes they would allow me to just make my own decisions, and sometimes they literally physically turn me and say, no, go this way, right? And it only makes sense that not the favor, but the energy is continued and it's returned, and it just you pay it forward.
And now, not only is it the first term of the new school year, but of course Christmas is around the corner. Just as a minor preview of maybe things to come, not just on WSN, but also in the country, because you are involved in multiple projects. And I just need to know, like, just so people can understand, we're not necessarily going to go into what we're cooking up in the station or what you have with regards to your own projects.
That will come later.
That will come later, as well as other projects you're involved in, because the man wears many hats, folks. Man wears many, many, many hats. But just so people kind of understand, this time of year, for those who have family members who are a musician, who sing parang, who are in a choir, you know, like, how much busier are you between like August to December as opposed to the rest of the year?
So I would say, so I'm not very much, I'm going to preface by saying, so around like carnival time, that's actually my downtime.
Yes.
Right? Because I'm not a calypso tent musician or something like that. I prefer to go to those things and just have that week or those 2 weeks of downtime. When it comes to this Christmas season, this is where a lot of things just start to thrive and there's a lot happening. So how busy is it? How busy is it? I have a rehearsal every night, Monday to Friday. Right? My days start...
Not with the same organization.
Not with the same organization.
Different things.
Different things.
So your brain is trying to juggle different pieces and programs. That is to say, different concerts.
Yes. And I mean, when you're in different... I don't have the same role in each of the organizations. I have varying roles, so it's not like I have the same load with each organization. So it's just a matter of trying as best to balance. But as I started saying, my days are early, my nights are late, and it just kind of goes forward. And then you leave the weekend. Do I leave the weekend to rest? Absolutely not. You leave the weekend to do some more teaching, and you do leave the weekend to do some extra, tidying up of things that you can't do inside of a rehearsal. Right? So all of those organizational things, all of those technical things that you need to work out, who you need to call, working out wardrobe, working out technical things, the sound and stuff like that. I'll just say it very briefly. I'm planning my own concert. It's not the first that I've ever done, but it's a little bit.
There are more elements.
Yeah, there are more elements. It's a little bit of on a grander scale, and you'll get some more details to come. But there's also just to briefly mention, like the UER's Chorale, we're having our concert on Saturday, December 7th.
Right.
And this is sort of the 25th year of the chorale's existence. Right, so we're kind of coming out big with that. Their UER Steel is also celebrating 20 years of existence. Right, so they have their things there as well. And then you have, your varying community choirs. They all have their, it's almost like we have our own unofficial choral festival when it comes to Christmas.
Christmas, yes.
Yes, because it's like one weekend after another weekend after another weekend, your favorite choirs.
Yeah,
right?
This is one of the times, and I'll touch on this a little bit more, right? Going back to something that you just said. I don't envy the staff of Queen's Hall because at some point, it might be nice to see a free concert, but imagine having to basically watch every Christmas concert for the season.
Yes.
Like at some point, it's going to be redundant, right?
Yeah.
At some point.
And just to add to that, they see the concert before the audience because most of those staff are there for the dress rehearsal.
They see it multiple times each week.
Yes.
Every week.
Yes. If anybody has ever been part of it, it's usually like, so let's say your concert is maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or just Saturday, Sunday. You're in Queen's Hall doing your tech rehearsal, your dress rehearsal, all those things from Wednesday, maybe even Tuesday. Before
maybe
that
even
weekend.
Monday.
Maybe even Monday, depending on the elements.
Yeah.
Depending on how much staging is required. Sometimes some organizations take that week to do like a stage recording of the concert.
Right.
Right. Just so that they can have a little bit
and
more.
a full dress rehearsal.
And a full dress
doing
rehearsal.
the show in the proper timings
Exactly.
and not stopping
Yeah.
in theory.
Not stopping in theory.
Not
right?
always in practice, but...
But yeah, if any costume changes need to happen, you go on, you go off, you run it as if it's a show. You run the show.
And again, I say that to reiterate, whenever you... Not so much the front of house staff, but the production staff for Queen's Hall, I feel for you. It's almost like if they just... Yeah, we've seen this a million times.
Yeah, exactly. But to that point, what I like to implore the audience, what I'd like to implore people is try going to a concert that you've never been to before.
Yeah.
Right? Try and then you can form an opinion from there and then you can choose to go. I mean, to not go afterwards.
At the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with having an opinion in art. It's just once you're not mean about it.
Right.
And once you're not trying to harm anybody with it.
Exactly. Correct. And you may go to something and then you may feel, I don't think this is really for me, but at least you went.
Or you might use stronger language, but ideally you would kind of leave that privately, unless it's your job, in which case you would clean it up to be professional.
Right. Yes. Although I have opinions about that. But anyway. So yeah, try something.
Man, at some point critics need to be willing to be professional.
No, yes,
but honest.
Absolutely.
Because if you sugarcoat everything, at some point the audience will be like, but I thought you said this wasn't that bad.
But do we have like a real critic culture here as like compared to other
Probably
areas of the
not,
world?
because I feel as though too much pandering goes on. You
Okay.
don't want to lose access.
You don't.
And I think I don't even know if at times, now in the past we did have critics in the papers, but I'm thinking more about like online personalities now.
Okay.
I think they don't even think that far ahead. I think a lot of it with regards to like going to restaurants or things like that. They just don't want to be mean.
Right.
You know, they just don't want the confrontation. They're not looking to pick a fight.
Yeah.
And to what extent are they being too generous or too compassionate?
Right.
And to what extent would it be irresponsible to be too brutal? Because sometimes, you know, you just get one, you know, if it's a meal, it's a one-off thing, right?
Right.
It might not be the typical thing. You go to a concert now, if you use one concert to judge a performance, to judge a performer or a choir or a band or a steel pan side, that's not necessarily their baseline. That's not necessarily their norm, right? Next thing you know, that might have been the one night when the unfortunate thing happened behind the scenes.
Right,
When, you know, like the obvious thing is when a mic cuts off, it's not the singer's fault.
Exactly.
You know, there might be a tech problem.
And then the person who's sharing that, they have to be able to know that, you know, this might cut off. So you address the tech or whatever organization needs to happen.
So when you're a true geek, right, and you go to a concert, what you do, you don't look for the performances that are good. Like baseline, you expect them to be at a certain level. But then you want to see, ooh, how did this person respond when they had a tech issue? Because I remember somebody, I'll say it was a Marionette concert. I think it might have been Greta Taylor's daughter. All credit to her, because she was doing a song by herself on stage and she had a tech issue. And we knew she had a tech issue by what she was doing with her hand reaching behind to try and do something while maintaining not just her singing, but her
theatrical,
her demeanor, her stage presence, right?
Absolutely have
all
to.
at the same time while she's trying to sort it out. So credit to that. And my time in Love Movement, I know there have been many members who have had to ratch or fix because maybe the music kind of skipped. So I remember one. There was like one kind of thing where it was like singing narration, but the music skipped or they forgot a line. So essentially somebody had to cover up something because you know it can't stop.
I mean, these things happen. These things happen. Like imagine being a pianist and you're performing outdoors and a breeze blows.
Oh, and your music scatters. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. I can't even. I never imagined before, but that sounds.
Or the entire stand falls, the entire music stand falls, and then you're like, oh, okay, well, I guess let's see how much my memory kicks in, right? Or let's say you'd given music on the day.
Where I had a cousin, QRC Boy Scouts annual Christmas concert, playing guitar, string bass on Queen's Hall stage.
Oh no!
So these things he took it in stride though, because I didn't notice, and he was like, "Yeah, I just had to like."
Yeah, these things happen. These things happen. Like, or if you're given music on the day and you're reading it on the spot and you're doing well, but then the singer puts it in the wrong order.
Now, I wanted to go back to something that you said, because you said you leave carnival
for downtime,
music and art, not just for downtime, and you want to enjoy it. You don't want to be a part of it. Now, with regards to food, there's one thing. There's certain cuisines I wish I could have a restaurant for myself, right? Because that's one of those things where, as a passion, I wish I could have that,
right?
You know. But there's certain culinary foods that I wouldn't want to. I would just want to. Okay, if I want it, I'll go and pay for it. I don't want to. I don't want to be a part of trying to have my own operation. That's not. No, because I want to leave that to enjoy. It's not part of my job. Now, I get to live my dream, although TV is not the most lucrative industry in Trinidad and Tobago, but I get to speak on current events, and every now and then, besides breakthroughs, I get to speak about art, and I get to speak about sports on the NFL on Face of Sports. One of the things, though, is sometimes, you know, when you get to live your dreams and it becomes your job, you know, it's a little bit harder to enjoy.
Let me talk about that really quickly.
So I do want to know, is it like how if I ever had a chance to maybe start something in the food industry, it wouldn't be I will leave certain things alone. Is it that you want to enjoy certain aspects of art and culture, so it's better for you to not have to work in that space?
Yes, because in order to be a good performer, I have to be a good audience member. I have to be able to understand and remember what it's like being from the audience's perspective, and just to, because when you're doing the performance, it's work.
Yes.
But when you are the audience, it's an experience.
Right.
And you want to, as much as possible, have that in your brain for your audience
But like,
members.
let's just say you went to a choir's concert that you're not a member of or you're not affiliated with or have never been affiliated with. But you've been affiliated with so many choirs, I'm sure like your brain is not going to be in full audience mode at this point.
So it took some time, but I had to actually train to turn my creative brain off.
The one that wants to see all the problems and how to fix it, right?
Not just the problem, but like admire. There's one thing to admire the beauty of what's happening on stage as an artist and a creative yourself, and to just admire the beauty as an audience member. There's a shift, there's a mental shift that you have to make to be able to just be there and to just enjoy it and to just experience it and experience the hard work that the people on stage, the orchestra, the choirs, the performers, the soloists, the actors, there's a shift that you have to make to be able to experience that. And because something about going into making a hobby a career is something that you love, that you're passionate about. Something about making that a career is there are some days that you're not going to love it.
Yeah, because it's work.
Because it's work. But then that's where the work ethic kicks in. That's where the discipline kicks in. And then once you keep that and you see the final product, then you're like, oh, I'm falling in love all over again, right? Because, it's people have said, like, even in relationships, I've heard people say love is not enough. It takes work. It takes conscious choices to make. So even in the relationship with your career, that's something that you're very passionate about. There are those times where it's like, because there are some times I'm like, I don't want to hear anything. I just want silence, right? Yeah. But it's those moments and those breaks that you have to take that kind of renews you. You allow your body to just kind of re-energize itself. It's allowed for reflection and stuff like that. And you be part of the people as opposed to performing for the people.
I mean, for me, with regards to current events, it's the reasoning is even different. It's like I only have so much to tolerate before I want to like beat my head against the wall or dig a hole in the ground and bury myself in there or find a ship to go to some remote corner where there's nothing or to just disappear or because there's so much bad news and I studied history enough to know it's not like it's a new phenomenon. It's just there's more of us, so there's more bad news, and then it's more documented and published, right? So it's a two-edged sword, right? And there are times when I can't read every murder story, but so it's slightly different from my day-to-day perspective, but at the same time, there's something about. Also, you can't get bored of it when it's like the typical nonsense, whatever.
A little bit.
But when you get something interesting, something unique,
something new,
an interesting decision, an interesting event, an interesting reaction, an interesting statement, which we should probably start to wind up this session. But I wanted to ask you, speaking about, because me, I always like to find something interesting that's different, That's why I personally don't go to a lot of concerts because I'm not a good audience member. Right? I'm not even
just
as deep.
In general.
I'm not as deep as him, and I am not a good audience member, right? Maybe I am too much of an amateur critic.
Okay.
But with that said, though, I do want to ask. I like to see interesting things, right? This doesn't necessarily happen to me, right? Because I'm not deep in the art, so I'm not looking to try and be a professional in the art scene. But you're deep in the art, so I need to ask: have you ever seen a performance where it's not totally outside of your sphere of ability, and it was so good, you start to feel a little bit jealous, like, damn it, why didn't I
think of that?
Why did I think of that? Why didn't I do that first?
Has that ever happened to me? I actually, honestly, I don't think so. Here's what does happen. I see an idea, and I'm like, okay, that's good. That's a really good idea. But then you kind of, how do I say this? Then you kind of sort of develop it.
You see the possibilities.
Yes. There's some, this is how I'm going to physically explain it because this is how it visualizes in my head. Someone has an idea, it's this. And then my brain does a this, and then I'm like, ooh, something else, sort of derived from that. And it's not, and this doesn't necessarily match this, like wholeheartedly, but certain elements of like, okay, I understand this, but one or two of those elements, I can take it and create something new, right? So that's essentially what I try to do. I mean, even with my projects, even with my groups. Part of the reason that I started, just as we wind it down, part of the reason I started my projects, and my projects are very specific. You've been part of them. You've been behind the scenes and stuff like that. There's not a lot of. I try to create a lot of stuff for the digital space, right? And usually what happens with choirs in the digital space is that they have a live concert and they record that and then they put it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like that's totally fine. But like music videos specifically, that is what I try to do, because I feel like there's so much creativity that allows for the visuals and
the editing.
The editing part is actually one of the parts that I enjoy, right? Because it's like, ooh.
You hear that?
Anyway.
Guys, you hear that?
No, the person in that control room. No. Anyway, Trinidad and Tobago, we will be right back with our first guest of episode 1 of season 2 of Breakthrough. We will be right back. Stay tuned.